Nathaniel the Prospect Wood, who was returning to action on UFC London this Saturday night, facing Charles Rosa. Nathaniel, great to sit down and chat. First and foremost, how is your phone? Because it looks like we're having a bit of issues. And how are things with you?
I've not set this up properly. It's currently leaning on a PlayStation. There we go. Right. How are you doing, man?
I'm very well. How are things with you, and how is training camp been?
Yeah, training's been amazing. Obviously going up in a weight category has been a weight off my shoulders. It's meant that this camp I've been able to actually focus on my opponent as opposed to just purely cutting weight. So yeah, it's been nice. I still got to cut weight. I'm going through the water loading stage now, which sucks, but we're almost there. A few more days, and then I get to do what I love again.
I've got to ask about that because you're making the move up to 145 there, as you mentioned, to featherweight. How has training camp been affected for this? Because obviously, I presume you want to do it correctly. You don't just want to cut 10 less pounds. How have you adjusted your training to cope with the move up to featherweight?
So I've still had my kind of like weight schedule, So the whole 8-week camp, I ideally am a certain weight each week, and then obviously that leaves me for the final week where we drop quite a significant amount. I tell you what's been amazing is that after training, I've actually been able to recover. I've actually been able to go home and have a protein shake and not feel guilty. I've been able to make sure that I'm getting a proper nutrition in, which is what an athlete is supposed to do, instead of just grinding my body down to the point where the camp is just about making the weight. And yeah, it's not fun, man. Going down to bantamweight, it was just, if I'm honest, mate, it was just killing me. And, I've been out for a while, so I thought it's time to move up. And yeah, I feel like I'm a much better athlete for it. I've still got a lot of weight to cut to make 145, but compared to, 135, it's a lot less stressful.
Is this a permanent move, or is this a case of let's see what happens over a couple of fights and kind of make a decision based upon that?
For now, it's a permanent move. I won't shut the door on 135 because obviously there's some good matchups that I would like to get in the future. However, already through this camp where I've been eating properly, I'm already walking around heavier. I'm pretty lean and I'm heavy. So usually, when I was walking around at the certain weights that I am now, I wasn't as lean. I didn't have as much muscle, and I think my body's started to maintain some more muscle now. So, if I stay at 145 for a while, 135 might be a thing of the past.
Of course. Now, we haven't seen you since November, I think October 2020, the last fight being against Casey Kenny. For fans who are maybe sleeping on Nathaniel Wood, what has the last 18 to 20 month period been like in terms of upgrading your skill set and improving your skills?
Well, obviously, other than the injuries, I've still been able to work. I've still been working everything I possibly can. I'm fortunate enough that where I had hand injuries, I was still able to work everything else. If I had a torn ACL, let's say, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I was still able to work everything. I've been working on my elbows, my knees, my kicks. Even, after a couple of weeks, once the cast was off my hand, I was back grappling anyway. It may have not been anything too serious, but I was able to actually focus on technique and becoming a better athlete instead of just always thinking fight. So, I've increased my skill set. I feel like I'm coming back a better athlete than I was 2 years ago. And now it's about, working my way up them rankings, getting the fights I want, and, showing the UFC that I'm here and I'm here to stay.
How many opponents have you prepared for post Kenny? How many opponents have you signed on the dotted line to fight? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, mate, I've had 7. I had obviously the fight that I broke my hand on, Jonathan Martinez. Yep. Then the one that was meant to be the other Vic, then he pulled out. Then it was meant to be Vince Morales, then he pulled out. Then going up to, I had a few other names that were floating about. No one accepted, no one actually said, yeah, we'll fight. Then going up 145, I'm not going to mention the names because I might get in trouble, but I've had 3 guys accept the fight, then pull out the fight, literally before the contract was signed. So now we've got Charles Rosa, and yeah, we're good to go. So I'm glad that I've got a game opponent, and it'll be a pleasure to share the octagon with him.
So this is going to be, obviously there's such a difficulty, having so many pullouts, but I guess in a positive sense, you've now trained or tried to at least game plan in some form for so many different styles, so many different skill sets. I can only presume that that's going to be a benefit to your skill set because you've been preparing for guys that have got one strong suit and then having to switch to another and another. What's the kind of process been like for the last, couple of years?
Well, if I'm honest, even when I've got an opponent, we don't focus too much solely on that opponent because of pullouts, So for example, on that last fight, obviously when Liudvik pulled out, having Vince Morales, he was a complete different fighter. Luckily, I didn't focus solely on Liudvik Shalonian, because in this game, pullouts are a regular thing.
Yeah.
So I always train just to better myself, really, as an athlete. I do my striking, my grappling, my jiu-jitsu, strength conditioning. The only thing that really changes is maybe, different sparring partners.
Yeah.
So, if I'm going up against a wrestler, there's no point in me necessarily going up against a karate striking specialist. We kind of just try and work it around. There's no point in me fighting southpaws if I'm fighting an orthodox guy, etc., etc. So yeah, I just feel that I've been bettering myself as an athlete, and I'm ready for anyone in the UFC division, whether they're striking, grappling, or whatever department they want to go to.
You mentioned sparring partners there. I've got to touch on our mutual friend Mark Casey doing a large part of his camp in your gym down at GB Top Team. What's it like been having such an explosive striker who's not only so explosive but is also a bigger body in terms of weight category to be able to prepare with?
Yeah, it's been great, and the better thing is that he used to spar with Charles Rosa.
Of course.
So having someone that's knows my opponent, it's always that little extra. I don't know what you'd call it. At least the guy knows what he's roughly doing. So yeah, it's been great, and obviously Mark's a super athlete. So it's been nice to work with him, and hopefully we've got a plenty more years to work together.
What is the interlude between fights between yours and Mark's? Is it straight after, or is there one fight?
One fight, yeah.
So Brad Pickett's going to have his hands full, isn't he?
Yeah, Brad's literally got to run to me, then to Mark. So, yeah, you're going to see Brad sweating on the night.
Let's touch on your opponent because we have mentioned the name a couple of times, Charles Rosa. UFC veteran, a lot of fights under his belt, very well-known name. What do you make of his skill set as an upcoming opponent?
Obviously he's game, he's very game. He's been in the UFC for many years, and he's obviously very high level. To be in the UFC, you got to be high level. To be there that many years, you got to be even better. Do I see anything that I think is going to bother me? No. He's been in the UFC for so long now. I don't feel that he's really done much with it. It's just a bit like, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. He's just sort of bouncing about. So, yeah, I'm excited for the fight. I'm very excited that he's a game opponent. He doesn't come and, put on a boring show. So I'd like to think there might be a nice 50 Gs in it for us. So, yeah, it'll be a pleasure to share it with him. There's no animosity in my end, but I will be looking to take his head off on Saturday night.
With the exception of your fight, what if I give you a free £1,000 bet and said, Nathaniel, put a bet on what's going to be a fight of the night? If we take your fight out, which one are you looking at going? That's probably going to be it.
We could say Molly McCann, maybe. We are going to say Mokaev. And fight of the night, I don't know. I'm lost on that one. The fight of the night, we need it to be a bit of back and forth. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to go with them too.
Fair enough. I think the good shouts. I did want to mention as well, because you're obviously moving up to featherweight. So obviously one of the considerations when you move up in weight class is the size differential. Because we only have to look at Saturday's main event. Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, even the likes of Burgos and Jordan. These are massive 145ers. But you've got Charles Rosa, who I believe is a similar height and similar size to you. So it's probably, in that regard, quite a nice transition into the weight category. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, the thing is like people forget I've got 145ers in the gym. I've been training with 145ers for years. I've got 155ers. I'm sparring with Mark Diakese. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I can handle myself weight-wise with Mark, Charles isn't going to be stronger than him. He isn't going to be bigger than him. So I really have no concerns in that aspect. Obviously, there are some featherweights that are huge, but I'm not worried about it. I honestly believe that, fighters should be focusing on their skill set to be able to handle a couple of kilos weight difference. So, I'm not walking in at 66 kilos. I've got still quite a bit of weight to cut myself. So, let's just say that my opponents have 2 kilos, maybe even 3 kilos weight on top of me. If I can't handle that, then they're better than me. I'll hold my hands up and say, yep, that guy won. Not, oh, that guy only won because he had 2 kilos. It does make a slight advantage, but this is a game of inches. So, I've got the speed advantage. So, I think especially amateurs, like these amateurs now coming up into the scene. I know people that can't even throw a jab properly and they're focusing on cutting like 10 kilos. And I'm like, go away and learn your skill set, because there's more to fighting than just making the weight. We're not getting paid and just to make the weight. We get paid to fight. So, it's important that we work our skill sets. And I believe that my skill sets, I can handle myself against any 145er in the world. And yeah, obviously Charles isn't a huge 145er, so just makes it, I guess, even nicer going into that weight category.
We've seen a lot of fighters talk about that over the years, about kind of being too focused on cutting the weight, that they kind of negate improving the skill set and improving their actual, their actual fighting attributes. Can I ask, have you ever kind of felt that at all when you're at bantamweight? And is it in any way more freeing now, knowing that, as you mentioned, you've had this time to focus on skill set and not weight cut?
Yeah, so obviously I've been in this game for like 12 years now. No, I don't even know now, 13, 14 years now. So I feel like I've built up a good solid skill set to the point where I can actually step back, focus on weight as opposed to just, improving my skills. It's more the guys that are like been doing a year or 2 years. For the first 6 years, I never even cut weight. I was like, what's this thing about cutting weight? But now I've got guys coming in the gym, haven't ever had an amateur fight before, and they're saying to me, hey, Nate, I'm going to cut 20 pounds for this fight. Not getting paid. They're fighting some amateur that they've never heard of before. There's a good chance that we'll just pull out anyway. And I think they're crazy. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, why are you going to do this? Because every weight cut is damaging your body. It's not healthy. I think that every weight cut takes, 6 months off our lives. So, yeah, I'm not, I don't want to be focusing solely on it. Don't get me wrong. I still have to cut weight now. I still am thinking about the weight cuts, but it's a lot less stressful and I'm able to focus on my opponent and actually becoming a solid athlete. So, yeah, everyone always says, oh, we need to do something about the weight. We need to do something about the weight. It's down to the UFC. No, just go up a weight class, Yeah. And if you're cutting such a crazy, serious amount of weight, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have enough confidence in your skill set. But hey, what do I know?
Let's talk about London, because I don't want to linger on the card in March, because I think a lot of fans would agree that you were kind of, that was the biggest disappointment that came out of London on what was a massive night for the UK. Your fight, 2 fights getting pulled of 2 different opponents, was a very like a difficult moment, if you like, for MMA fans. But I guess how nice is the chance that you get to redo it, rather than being stuck on a card the way Jack Shaw was in the States, where it worked out for us time zones, but it doesn't normally. How nice is the fact that you get to redo it, the same arena, very similar circumstances, and kind of right that wrong?
That's perfect. Obviously, that last fight being pulled, I thought, it's not going to be another year at least until the UFC come back to London. And that's if I can even get on that card. So the fact that they're doing it a few months after, it's a blessing. So, I reckon Dana's just doing it to get me on the card. But no, it is, that was a real kind of kick in the nuts. I was like, man, this is my hometown. I'm not getting to fight on it. Obviously, the crowd in there was crazy. So I was just, it was a good night watching the fights, but it was bittersweet. I wanted to be in there and I wanted to put on a show for the crowd. And I'm the only London fighter there is in the UFC. So to not be on it was heartbreaking. But to then find out that they're turning it around and coming a few months back later, I had to make sure that, I'm on this card. So touch wood, there's no issues with my opponent and we can get it on Saturday night.
Does it change your mentality at all going into fight? And I don't want to bring up the negatives, but does it change your mentality at all? What happens in March? Because, I think was the pullout the Wednesday or Thursday? I remember, because you've done media day, haven't you? Was it the Thursday?
Yeah, I think he pulled out the Wednesday, and then the Thursday was when it was like, right, you're not fighting.
Yeah,
we was like waiting by the phone. There was a couple of names that may have been able to get medicals and stuff like this last minute, and it all just fell through. And then it was on the Thursday where they said, look, the fight's done. We're calling it. So.
Yeah. I want the point you mentioned there as well, because I think it's often overlooked when we have these UK cards, because we have so little of them, is that you're the only hometown boy. If you like, we'll have the Scouts contingent who'll probably be going down tomorrow. We'll have Beardew, Paul Craig coming down from Scotland, but you're the man it's your hometown. Do you think it's in any way more special for you by the fact that it's home for us all, but it's home for you even more?
Yeah, I think so. And I think because I'm the only Londoner on the card, there's that little extra element of, pride maybe. And I guess that little extra pressure of, you got to represent. You're the only one here that's from London. So, but yeah, I love it, man. I rise to the pressure.
It's in some ways it's probably a lucky thing that they don't do too many UK cards, because when they do, it's generally the O2 in London, because it's a proven ground, isn't it? Where we know where the UFC know it'll work. So in that way, you are blessed that we're not like, say, the way the US is, where we're going here, there, and everywhere. When we come to the UK, we come to London.
Yeah, it's always been the sort of home ground, the O2. I hope that they're going to just keep coming back, man. I think it's time that the UFC do more UK cards. I'm not just saying London. So whether it's in, Ireland, or whether it's in Scotland, whether it's in London, Liverpool, they could sell them out every week. So, hopefully we'll be getting more UK cards, because I definitely think that they can manage it absolutely fine.
Of course. I'd just like to finish by asking a little bit about your fight week. So what happens? Obviously, as we mentioned, you're the hometown boy. So do you stay in your own home, or how does kind of your fight week work out? Because all the other fighters will be coming from somewhere else. Do you sleep in your own bed the night before the fight? How does that work?
Yeah, so the UFC booked my hotel still. I have to check in tomorrow, go in, do all my media obligations, etc. But no, I go home, sleep in my own bed. I'm a family man, so there's nothing more that I want to be than just sitting at home. So I go, it takes me about 40 minutes to get to the hotel, jump back on a train. Even after the weigh-ins, I won't go back to the hotel. I'll go back with my friends and family and, surround myself with the people that I want to be with.
How much of a benefit do you think that is, the fact that you can, be with your friends and family? Because other people will only have the people who make the trip down. The likes of Paddy and Molly their fans and friends and family will have to drive 4 hours. So not everyone will be able to make it. So how much of a benefit is it for you?
Sorry, mate, have you lost me on the screen?
I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had a phone call coming through, so I wasn't sure what was going on. But yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, it's hard because some people, Brad, I know himself, he was always better when he went away from home. It was like, I'm out on a mission, that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I do see positives like that. When I've gone over to the States or Abu Dhabi, you're not with your friends or family, there is that kind of element of, I'm on a mission, etc. But I also find that I do just as well at home, when, I give my missus a kiss and say, I'll see you later now, I'm going to war. Do you know what I mean? I stay up the UFC hotel on the Thursday, because obviously that's the weight cut. Yeah. So I do that and then just wake up, weigh in, etc. But yeah, I do think a lot of fighters prefer being away from home. And I know a lot of fighters enjoy the luxury of having the UFC just kind of do everything for them. And, who wants to get on a train? But I don't know, for me, I want to be at home, man. I want to be just on my bed, having my little cup of tea in my little mug, with my dog, whatever. So it's a luxury, I would say.
Of course. I did want to mention that because I think I'm going to go on the record and say I think you have, pound for pound, the coolest dog in the UFC. So I can't remember his name, but how are things with your dog?
Ivor. Yeah, he's good. He's currently just looking around what he can eat. He's just trying to mess with my life, man.
Sounds a bit similar to how you probably feel.
Yeah, he knows on weight cut week he can just do what he wants, and I just let him get away with it. So yeah, he's being a menace at the moment, and it's too hot to take him out. So
well, Saturday night, the prospect is back, hopefully turning himself from a prospect into a contender. Although I think we've spoke about this before, the nickname will never change. But nonetheless, it's great to sit down and chat as always, and I wish you the best of luck come Saturday night, and can't wait to be watching.
thank you very much, man. And as always, thank you for your time as well. I appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine, Nath. Before we finish, how can people find you on social media, and any sponsors you want to shout out? The floor is yours for the last word.
Yep, so you can find me at The Prospect MMA on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And yeah, thank you to all my sponsors. I don't want to name individual ones because I'll end up forgetting someone. But yeah, and everyone that's supporting me, you know who you are, and it means a lot.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.